Am I the a-hole for dressing too nice for a wedding? I, 25F, went to a friend's wedding a few months ago. The friends are Matt, 25M, and Susan, 25F. We're all part of a much larger friend group that gets along pretty great. To preface, I have actually never attended a wedding before in my life, and I don't tend to dress up or put on makeup. Nothing against it, it's just expensive and time-consuming, and I work 16-hour days in a uniform. I was really excited when I got the invite, saved up, and went to a shop I know carries my size. I'm fairly tall. The clerk was amazing and so helpful. He chose a selection of dresses that would be wedding appropriate that weren't close to what the bridal party would be wearing, and we had a lot of fun trying things on, and he hyped me up. One of the options I just fell in love with. It was a beautiful dark green silk bias cut dress, think Keira Knightley in Atonement, without the sash and less of a flowing skirt. We matched it with heels and I'd never felt prettier. The dress was on sale too, so that was a plus. Wedding day comes and it's lovely. I'm so happy for my friends. Susan ignores me, which is weird, but she's busy preparing, and then the wedding is in full swing and the reception is busy, so I don't think much of it. Everything goes off without a hitch and they drive off to their honeymoon. I suppose it's relevant, but I received several compliments on my outfit during the event. I didn't think it caused a scene, and it wasn't anything particularly effusive or over the top. I was doing the same to others, so I didn't think it stood out. Everything concludes, we all have a nice time. No one says anything until tonight. We all got together for a welcome back dinner for Matt and Susan. During the dinner, Susan kept making snipes at me about what I wore. Just incredibly passive-aggressive. It was very clear she thought I overdressed. I didn't say anything at the time because I felt terrible. None of my friends corrected or stopped her either. But looking back on it, I feel wronged. She didn't give me the benefit of the doubt, and I don't feel like my dress was over the top. I do think I likely look very different from how I normally dress and present myself, so that might be part of it. I'm trying not to go over the word limit, but am very open to questions and elaborations if needed. Relevant comments. Commenter. Was there a stated dress code? OP. The invite says formal, and I knew it was going to first be in a church, and that the reception would be in a local hotel that looks like a castle and is quite fancy, though I've never been. Commenter. Not the a-hole. You're tall, and you don't normally girl up. If the bride felt like you were trying to steal thunder, it's likely due to her own insecurities. Your dress was appropriate for the event you were at. It's just that you probably were stunning, and that may have shocked people who never look at you that way. Either way, not your problem. OP. I was deliberately going for something very unadorned because she was wearing a ball gown with flower and rhinestone applique. I think that's the term. Her dress is a lovely dress, and the reception venue was perfect for it. Effectively a castle. OP's dress. I actually haven't seen the movie, so I don't know the intent. It was just the closest match I could find while Googling trying to find the dress. I tried Googling other dresses that look similar, but most of them have a big thigh slit, which mine doesn't. I just didn't know how common bias cut is as a descriptor while also being accurate to my dress. To another commenter. Pretty similar to the Atonement dress, but a bit less. Mid-back rather than lower back, which isn't unusual for dresses to my understanding. Also brought a simple black little jacket to wear with it since it was a winter wedding and we moved venues, but didn't wear it the whole time understandably. Commenter. Bias cut isn't much of a description of a dress at all. It just means the material has been cut at an angle. OP. A shoot then? I don't even know if that's correct. That was my conclusion after consulting Google trying to find the dress and then something close to it when that failed. Commenter downvoted. The dress in Atonement is pretty attention-seeking. It was deliberately chosen in the movie and created a splash amongst viewers. So I'd say you are the a-hole. The wedding wasn't your moment. OP. Very fair. It wasn't my intent, but well could have been the impression and result. Were other women wearing cocktail dresses or gowns? OP. About 50-50. I definitely wasn't the only one. But I'd say the wedding was very male-heavy, so 5 men per 1 woman, I think. She had a huge bridal party, so most of our mutual female friends were part of the bridal party, so I'm not counting their long dresses, or not invited. Commenter. I see a lot of American women wear short dresses to formal weddings, which baffles me. Formal to me means long dresses. Maybe that's why. But if more women, other than the bridesmaids, wore long dresses and she isn't mad at anyone else but you, that's weird. OP. She's not mad at anyone else that I'm aware of, but apparently some friends did talk to her, so she's mad at them now. Commenter. Interesting that it was a predominantly male-attended event. Based on that plus the way she treated you, it sounds like Susan is definitely not a girl's girl. OP. I think that's a multi-factor thing. Susan and Matt come from big families with mainly brothers. She's not in contact with her mother. Our friend group is largely male, and then on top of that some of our friends are gay, so more men as a +1. I know she got in a fight though with some girls, so she uninvited them to the wedding, and pretty much all the rest were bridesmaids. I'm not the closest with her personally, so I was just happy to be there. To clarify the last bit, happy to be there versus being in the bridal party. We're friends but not the closest as some of me and the other girls guys are. Commenter. You went to a dress place and had the employee recommend dresses. Presumably a qualified employee helping you pick out a dress would not have recommended a dress in which you would upstate the bride, which would be over the top for a wedding guest. OP. I did show him what the bride was wearing and that we had to avoid reds, bridal party color, so we wouldn't have anything remotely similar. He was honestly a sweetheart. Not in a pushy salesman way but really hyping up and helpful. Commenter. Exactly. You went to someone qualified to suggest appropriate options, and showed him what the bridal party was wearing, and presumably told him the dress code was formal. It is this person's job to help people select appropriate wedding attire, and if he's at all experienced he'd know that some brides can get jealous and controlling. He would not have recommended a bride's upstaging dress. It seems to me like you did the appropriate thing. OP. Yes, and honestly the height was an issue. A lot of the shorter dresses are just too short on me and look indecent or just weird. Not lying where they should. And it's way easier to hem something than make something longer. Not that this one needed hemming. You'd think it'd be the other way around when shopping for dresses, but that hasn't been in my experience. And yes, OMG, he was so kind and lovely. Update. Turns out, the dress didn't matter at all pretty much. Just brought some old shit up, I guess. Bear with me because I'm trying to piece things together and dealing/venting. Some info I've gotten directly, some secondhand, and not all at the same time. Got some from texting friends, others reached out, and I talked with Susan on the phone. Alright, so, apparently this is relevant. I come from a fairly abusive situation. Not the worst but still not great. Add one some religious trauma, and since a young age I've been pretty relationship averse. And do not date casually or hook up with folks, and a staunch atheist. Believe what you want to believe, that's fine, but it's not for me, yeah. How does this apply? Well, Matt, you might be getting a creeping suspicion at the root of the issue about now. Is very Christian. Not an asshole about it, but he's been very clear that's the type of life he wants to live and he wants to be a pastor. So a full-on decade ago, he asked me to a school dance. We didn't know each other very well yet. I told him no because my parents didn't let me go to those. He then asked if we could date and I gently turned him down because, again, my parents wouldn't have allowed it, and B, I knew I didn't want to live a religious life. I knew he was very religious. This was a decade ago. We didn't become friends or anything then. That came later because my best friend started to date one of the guys in the group, and our two friend circles merged. He dated people in between then as well, so like a little awkward but rarely ever thought about it. We were 15. Time passes, he starts dating Susan. Susan and her friends join the group. Everything is fine. We get along okay, not the closest but good. There's some drama but I'm not usually in it, and honestly I am really busy with uni and work. Then just work. But apparently Matt told Susan that he had asked me out. No clue if he told her when it was. And this did bother her. I was oblivious. And yes, some of you were right. She is insecure, she also has anxiety. Matt, apparently, would get annoyed at her anxiousness when she'd call him crying, and in the moment would be supportive, but then after would compare her to me. Why things like, yeah, you should be like OP, she doesn't stress about things like that. Like, sorry, but I'm gonna be real with you here. Getting followed by a creep on a train is very different when you're 6 and take martial arts versus 5 feet 1 inch with anxiety. Not fun either way, scary all the time, but can you blame her for crying? Sorry, I'm a little pissed. So I'm guessing she built up some sort of resentment towards me but never told me. Again, I'm oblivious to all this going on. COVID happens. He proposes. They wait a bit more for marriage. She invites people to the wedding and does not want me as part of the bridal party, which again, we're not the closest, so I'm unfazed. Maybe a bit of sadness, but her bridal party is large and with girls closer to her, so I don't mind. My best friend is aware of some of the subtext going on here. Because of her BF, the same guy mentioned earlier, so she doesn't get along well with Susan, and they have a fight, unrelated, around this time, so Susan says she's not invited and my friend doesn't care, she's going to be abroad then anyways. She also kicked some girls from the bridal party because they were apparently talking shit about the relationship, but I know very little about this, all third hand. So from what I can get from the conversation I had with Susan is that she thinks me asking about what the bridal party and she were wearing was a dig somehow, and that I chose green deliberately so that I'd stand out from the bridal party and her. Her dress had red accents here and there, in the opposite color. Again, didn't ask me this, just came to that conclusion on her own. She also is utterly convinced that I dressed so nice because I wanted to tempt Matt, and I should have dressed more modestly. So I asked why this was all coming up now and why not talk to me about it. I could have assured her that there was never anything between Matt and I and never would be. This is where she tells me that during their honeymoon he tells her that he's having doubts, and feels like I was the one that got away, and needs to pray over their relationship. They haven't separated or anything, But things have been tense and bad, so when they had that dinner and she saw me again, she was pissed. She didn't say this directly, but I think it's pretty easy to infer. Now this didn't come up in the call, but chronologically this happened shortly after I left the dinner. Some of our friends texted her and then reached out to me, some talked to her directly. To the first person she talked to directly, she started shaming me pretty hard, but apparently in a way where she thought they'd agree with her, and when she didn't she got pissed and has been really short with everyone after. At this point I tried to assure Susan that really nothing is there. I honestly have no clue what Matt's on about, and she just loses it. Starts screaming and swearing at me through the phone and crying and calling me really horrible things. I try to shut this down, but she cannot hear me, she's shouting so much. So I just hang up because WTF am I supposed to do with that? I send her a text saying that, hey, I'm sorry you're going through this, you don't deserve to be treated this way. But I don't deserve this treatment either. Whenever you are able to, I'd like to have a respectful face-to-face conversation. It shows read but no answer. I have not contacted Matt because honestly I'm a little freaked out and a lot pissed and don't have a clue what to say and don't really want to be near him ATM. I don't think this is over. I might update again when / if more happens because this was honestly really cathartic to write this all out. Relevant comments. Commenter. They should just annul the wedding and go their separate ways OP. Unfortunately they've passed the timeline where they could by a small margin, so they'd have to separate for a year and then get divorced. And I don't know if they would, given that they're quite religious, and while their denomination doesn't disallow divorce, it's understandably quite against it. Especially if he wants to be a pastor. That said, I 100% agree. Commenter. Not the a-hole. When she's ready, definitely have that face-to-face conversation and explain that you were 15 when he asked you out. You were never the one who got away, because you never dated and you were both teens. Also, please explain that you asked about the colors to ensure you wouldn't be matching the bridal party, which is a common question us women ask about weddings. Reassure her that you were only friends at a later date. After the teenage years, due to the friend groups overlapping, not because you sought him out or he you. Explain, if given the chance, everything you've explained here and in your prior post. I definitely agree that you need to stay no contact with him, at least until they've figured everything out. You are definitely not the cause of their issues. It almost sounds like to me, with the info given, that he was settling rather than finding that spark, especially given what he said to her on their honeymoon. Just you. Who says that to their new spouse? If and when you have a face-to-face with her, tell her that you've chosen to go and see with him, or at the very least LC with him, but only if it's in a group setting and she's there. He sounds like he has some issues to work through. We all do at times and that's okay. But what isn't okay is him comparing his new bride to other women. Again, this isn't your fault. You did nothing wrong. OP. Thanks for writing out this really thoughtful reply. Yeah, this is just holous mess. It's left me feeling really gross, sad, creeped out and sad for Susan. I'm trying to figure out how long I should wait before reaching out to Susan again, let alone if really like what the F can I do about this? Explanations are good, but it doesn't fix the core issue at hand. Sorry, I hope this makes sense. This whole situation has just got me exhausted.